After much hype and hoopla, Florida's September is over. It was full of drama and teeth gnashing in big plays, but the only stat that really matters is that Florida is 2-2. There are reasons for optimism going forward, but the goal right now should just be to get better. This is going to be an interesting October for the Gators with 3 straight home games before Georgia, but it can't be as difficult as playing 3 teams like Utah, Kentucky and Tennessee in a 22-day stretch. It will be interesting to see how the Gators respond to being as good as eliminated from the SEC East race, but before we move on, let's look back at Florida-Tennessee with this week's Sunday hash. I have spent a lot of time trying to understand why Florida's defense is so bad and why this has been going on for 3 seasons. We can blame the pandemic for the 30.8 points a game it allowed in 2020, but last year it was 26.8 and this year so far it is 29.5. This year's defense has allowed 424.1 yards of total offense. In the history of Florida football, the Gators have allowed over 400 yards per game once, and that was the COVID year when nobody played defense. Those are all great stats, but why is it so bad? Quite simply, I think most of the blame lies with the previous coaching staff. Syndication. The Knoxville News-Sentinel It didn't recruit well at all, and the big recruits who have come to Florida seem as if they were overvalued by recruiting services and message boards. I know that Florida lacks depth, but that doesn't explain why the Gators can't cover and seem to be out of position so much when the quarterback runs the ball. I don't think many of the holdovers were properly developed and, sorry to say, maybe just aren't good. There's going to be things we can do better: players, coaches, in-game decision-making, fundamentals, communication, said autotag, Billy Napier, autotag. And that's where we're at. That's exactly where we're at as a football team. So, we need more repetitions, and we need to stay the course. And I am confident in our process. It's not Napier's fault. Randy Sartin-USA TODAY Sports. But Florida has now lost 10 of its last 12 games against SEC competition. The Gators are 0-2 for the first time in SEC play since 1986. That team bounced back to win against Auburn, the Kerwin Bell 2-pointer, and Georgia, but that was it. Even with a defense that is terrible, but has still created 8 turnovers, we knew that Florida 2022 could only go as far as autotag. Anthony Richardson, autotag, would take them. In the 2 games Florida has lost, UF has outgained the opponent and on Saturday ran 87 plays after averaging 54 in the first 3 games. So, a lot has been written and said about Napier going for 2. Randy Sartin-USA TODAY Sports. After Florida scored to make it 38-27, those who have defended him talk about how he knew he had to be aggressive and try to win the game in regulation and that analytics tell you to go for 2 there. Well, do those analytics tell you that you are averaging 16.8 yards a kickoff return when you can automatically have the ball at the 25? On special teams, we didn't do anything to change the game, Napier said. Is this the Anthony Richardson we're going to see the rest of the season? 2 great performances, 2 stinkers. Remember this, when Cam Newton was here, he was not a good quarterback. He was an exceptional athlete who needed 4 years to finally have the light go on for him at Auburn, and he won the Heisman. Similar dudes in terms of athletic skill. I just prepared hard for the Tennessee game, Richardson said. I focused a lot more, and put a lot more time and effort into the game plan and the defensive study. One of my coaches told me that preparation is key, and pressure is for the unprepared, and I feel like I was prepared for this game. Why did someone not say something to him 2 weeks ago? Apparently, the SEC crew that officiated the game. Syndication. The Knoxville News-Sentinel decided that it was too important to call a penalty for the old Gator chomp throat slash that Jaylen Wright pulled off in the end zone after scoring Tennessee's final score of the game. Hey, in 2 weeks, it might be a penalty. You never know with these guys. I know it was a penalty just to do the chomp back in the old days of 2015, as Tennessee's John Kelly found out. But in the SEC, the bigger the game, the fewer big penalties get called. Florida did have a season-high 10 penalties, but the average penalty yardage for both teams was 6.1 yards per call. That crew let them play, Napier said. Vertical gallery id equals 92722. Let us know your thoughts and comment on this story below. Join the conversation today.